So right at the beginning, and I think it was based on one of your emails that you sent out, right at the start was, coming up with your why, basically, and why you want to have a niche site. And hopefully, it's a reason that's a little deeper than I want to make $1 million overnight. This probably isn't the way to do that. But you had encouraged us to basically come up with our why and what our goals would be. So I came up with about 10 financial milestones that I wanted to hit, just mostly based on like what I currently make for my job, because that's the only reference point I have. And then for each of those categories, I would say basically, what could that pay for? So, this month it might cover my pet expenses. At this level, it would cover my mortgage. At this level, it would cover, mortgage plus a vacation or something like that. So as I go along, I do kind of keep track of where I am on that milestone list. And yeah, I'm trucking along. I'm on like number 3.
Very good.
That's good.
Congratulations. I mean, it's a lot of money for most people. That's going to pay for a mortgage and a little bit more, depending on like how big of a house or
Yep.
whatever their domicile is. So that's awesome. I think it's interesting to note that you've been able to hit an ROI positive point pretty quickly because you've done a lot of work yourself. And I think that's impressive. Like, can you share a little bit about like the expenses and that sort of thing? You don't have to go too deep in detail, but just sort of high level.
Yep. When I looked back on all of 2019, like I said, the site made a little over $13,000 for the year. And then of that, I had about almost $9,000 that I put into it. Now, not all of that, though, was actually going into the site. So there was a good chunk of that was educational expenses that were
You paid me.
Right. Like buying a course, because I had no idea what I was doing. And, those are investments that, like I said, that's not going to be a year-over-year site investment to keep it going. But I was willing to invest in the educational piece right up front. And then another probably 5,000 of that was for content. My approach was that if, I wanted to fail faster, essentially. And, because I had some disposable income that I could put into it, I wanted to really grow the content over the first year and see if the model held, right? And if it was worth putting more time and energy into. So for me, that was worth it. You definitely don't have to invest that much right away. But, again, when you think about it, if I put in, let's just say $9,000 for the first year, well, last month I made $2,500. So, like if I can put in a fair amount up front and then get a higher functioning site with better monthly income, like that makes it back quite a bit quicker. So
yes.
That for me is that's still worth it.
Gotcha. Yep. And some people may be thinking, I can't believe like $5,000. That's a crazy amount of money. But It wasn't all at once, number one. And then you saw that what you were doing was working. So maybe you started small and then you increased the expenses as you felt comfortable with it, right?
Correct. I spent probably $500 on my first set of 10 articles that were the first ones I ever outsourced. So
cool.
Started small and made sure that I even liked doing that as an option. So
Right. Okay. And just at a broad level, one of the questions that I want to ask is like, what's the reason for the site's success? And it's you could take it in whatever direction because there's a lot of moving pieces and the way you approached it.
Yeah. Well, the first thing I would say is I'm in there almost every day. So part of that is because I chose a niche that I'm personally interested in. I think it would be different if I was writing about something I didn't care about, vacuum cleaners or something, which I did buy a vacuum cleaner after visiting a niche site. I do want to say that, but so they are useful, but for me personally, it's not my passion. So for me, it's a lifestyle blog and I'm on it every day because I enjoy doing it. So I think that's a big piece of it, is that it wasn't something that I just started, worked on for 2 months, got bored of, and expected it to keep making a lot of money. So for me, just being able to continually be in there, and like doing it, like working on it, is a huge thing. The other thing I would say for me personally is that having a marketing background, the site looks professional, content is professional. I've been a writer for years, so I spend a ton of time on editing, which I know a lot of people don't like spending time on. And it is a huge time suck. I won't lie about that. But I also feel a lot better about the content that I put out. So for me, it's worth it. It also keeps me really tuned into what content I have when I've been outsourcing things. So it's really easy to get so much content that you forget what's even out there, what you've covered, what you haven't, what you can link to. So spending more time in there editing actually helps me out, at least in the short term.
Perfect.
So having a professional looking site, nice content that's edited, and then just, being in every day, kind of working on it. I think those are all distinguishing factors for me.